Andy Brassell. Now, the end of the transfer window is something we're going to look at today. Of course, it's finishing on the 1st of February across Europe this year, because the 31st was a Sunday of January, so for administrative reasons it went on a day extra. And not as lively as in previous years. I think a lot of clubs feeling the pinch of the global economic crisis still, and a lot of them seeing the example of other clubs and winding their neck in a bit. I suppose certainly in the Premier League, Portsmouth are a cautionary tale to a lot of clubs, certainly in the bottom half of the table, who might have been thinking of spending lavishly otherwise. But one big move snuck in at the last minute, that of Tottenham's Robbie Keane, the Ireland striker, going to Celtic on loan for 6 months. Now, I think this is a good move for Keane. Of course, he's not been getting in the Tottenham team regularly, and he wants to play. It's a terrific move for both Celtic and the Scottish Premier League in general. Celtic, well off the title pace, 10 points behind Rangers, even if they do have a game in hand at the moment. But for the Scottish Premier League, here's a guy who's 29, still at his peak, and he shows what he's still got in Ireland's playoff against France. So it's something that will really perk up the competition, I think. So a good thing there. Now, the January transfer window, often seen as the last stop of the desperate in trying to salvage a season or a situation or patch up a last-minute problem that arises. That's what's happened to Fiorentina with Adrian Mutu's failed drugs tests and impending ban. It would seem they brought in Keane, the Brazilian, on loan from Barcelona. He was at Benfica in the first half of the season. Now, I'd just like to have a quick word on Mutu. I think it's a real shame what's happened, and a lot of lazy stuff has been written about this, about drugs cheat, Mutu caught again, and this sort of stuff. Well, I think the idea, of course, he was fired by Chelsea for failing a drugs test for cocaine before. The idea that anyone would take that to improve athletic performance is quite frankly laughable. The guy clearly had a problem, and he's really turned his life and his career around since going to Juventus and then to Fiorentina, where he's really kicked on and been an outstanding player for them. He seems just to have been a bit ill-advised and daft on this occasion, and I really hope, for all the progress he's made in the last couple of years, he doesn't get the absolute book thrown at him by the Italian Olympic Committee. But on the subject of Keane, he's not really made much impression at Benfica, of course. They've had so many attacking options this season, it's been very hard for him to establish himself. But what better place to do that in Europe than Fiorentina? Cesare Prandelli's got an excellent record with young players. Stefan Jovetic, the Montenegrin midfielder, who's been so outstanding, particularly in the Champions League this season, has shown what a great environment that is to flourish. So that could be the place for Keane. Now, some other clubs have no option but to have a last-minute punt. The most busy in La Liga in Spain have been Real Zaragoza. They signed 7 players and dumped another 5 in an effort to turn their ailing season around. They're really struggling down there at the bottom. They've got some good experience in Edmilson, the Brazilian centre-back, of course, played for Barcelona, Lyon before, and has been really great for Brazil. Perhaps he can bring something there, even though he's getting on a bit. Alicio, the Portuguese winger, who was great for Malaga last season, not really made much of an impact at Lazio, so gone back on loan to Spain to try and maybe force his way into the Portuguese World Cup squad as an outside bet at the last moment. Yuri Jarosik, the experienced ex-Chelsea midfielder, going there too. Now, talking of players trying to squeeze their way into the World Cup squad, that's been another reason for last-minute moves. A lot don't want to go anywhere because they don't want to affect the stability in a World Cup here, but some have no option if they're going to try and cement their place on a plane to South Africa 2010. For the home nation, of course, Benny McCarthy not been playing much at Blackburn, and he's gone to West Ham, where he's going to try and help them get away from the bottom of the table. Thiago has not really made much of an impression at Juventus, the Portuguese midfielder, after such an excellent spell at Lyon. He's gone to Atletico Madrid, where he's going to try and cement his place. And of course, Robinho, not doing too well at Manchester City, so he's gone to Santos on loan for 6 months as he tries to make a punt for the Brazil 22. Now, of course, there are a couple of clubs who've really pushed the boat out before in transfer windows, and it's not really worked out for him. Now, 2 of those, Ajax and Lyon, watched them, both of them in action this weekend. Ajax in their match against Feyenoord, a big game in their Eredivisie calendar. That now, Martin Jol, if he didn't know he had a job on his hands before, he certainly does now. Now he's perhaps suffering for the heavy spending of previous regimes at Ajax. Again, a really samey performance with them. They went in front through Marco Pantelic, but Jorginho Wijnaldum equalised for the home side, a very deserved equaliser for Feyenoord after a terrible mix-up between Stecklenburg and Emmanuelson. And really, Ajax not playing a great match. And talking of the previous signings, very expensive one, the Serbian wingers, Miralem Suleimani, and he didn't even make the 16. So Yol is clearly looking to move him on in the future. They're going to take a big hit on him. How this will affect Ajax's future finances, who knows? Now, another club who've spent a lot in previous windows, Lyon, they played PSG on Sunday night, overcame them. Rather shaky performance from Lyon again, especially at the back where they look absolutely terrible. But they managed to push on and win that in the last quarter. Now, there's nothing wrong with the signings they made last summer. They spent €70 million on those 4 players that have all brought something to the team to various degrees. But if we go back a bit further from them, they've spent quite badly. Of course, Kader Keita, they lost substantially on him. He made very little impression there, and they sold him on to Galatasaray, a big loss this summer. It looks like they're going to do the same with Ederson and Jean de Macun, who made very, very little impression. They've been very disappointing. They cost about €15 million each, and this is a big problem for Lyon going forward, how they're going to really fill that financial gap, because it is clear that the squad needs a bit of major restructuring. Just the question is, will Claude Puel be the man to oversee it when that time comes about? Now, before we go, we've got to have one last stop in England, and 2 clubs who didn't really do anything in the transfer window playing the big match there at the top of the league this weekend, Arsenal and United. United, the emphatic winners. Tremendous performance from them, and a 3-1 victory. Really not quite putting Arsenal out of the title picture, but their challenge is really fading. Perhaps Arsene Wenger, I doubt it because he's quite stubborn, but perhaps he's regretting not buying a forward and maybe a strong midfielder in that transfer window. As far as United, they didn't need to buy anyone, clearly. We talked about earlier about how much they've missed all the dimensions that Cristiano Ronaldo gave the team, but Nani, perhaps it's given him the space to breathe. The departure of Ronaldo, playing on the right wing for the first time in a while recently, when he was tremendous. Had such a key influence on the first 2 goals, especially the second one. I think the way he linked with Rooney, very reminiscent of the pacey way that United could break before with Cristiano Ronaldo and Rooney. So good news for United there. Well, lots of games to look forward to this weekend. Arsenal will try and feed some life into their title challenge. They're away at Chelsea, a real last chance for them against the leaders, so it'll be interesting to see how they get on there. In the meantime, you can keep up with me on my site, www.allornothingtv.net. You can Twitter me your questions, twitter.com/Andy Brassell, or send them to the link below the article here, or put on the screen here. Anyway, have a great week. I hope you enjoy all the football, and we'll see you again.